Hello everyone and welcome back to Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Sorcerer Stone, whatever you like to call it. Today I think we're going to help Hagrid, but I think first we have to help Neville, because apparently it's our job at Hogwarts to help everybody who can't stand up for them fucking selves. Let's listen here. What do you have to say? I'm pretty sure we're gonna run into Neville and Malfoy here any second. Maybe not. Maybe we're not. Maybe we are? Yeah, we are. So I think this is where we... the remember all thing for Neville. And then I'm guessing we also do Quidditch today? So we might not actually learn any spells in this episode, because we have to do this minigame, then we have to do Quidditch. I'm guessing also our first Quidditch match as well, potentially. And I think we also have to go on a side quest for Hagrid, but then again, that might be the second game. But surely it wouldn't be the second game, because the second game, the side quest related to Hagrid, would be Aragog. So... okay, so the first and second games are kind of interchangeable in my mind. I'm gonna be like, what the fuck is that? Harry, my boy, that is a weird-ass move to pull. I'm gonna be honest with you. So we just kind of fly... oh, we can fly quickly with holding right mouse button. So we just kind of ram into Malfoy a bunch of times, and that is everything there is to it, I'm pretty sure. Trying not to get hit by the bludgers ourselves. We also want Malfoy to keep ahead of us, because otherwise we can't ram into him. And I feel like this game might just be janky enough to the point where you can overtake Malfoy and just... oh, press the jump key to bump Malfoy. That is... that was easy. Okay, so you don't hold back gas, you just ram into him and keep pressing accelerate, or keep holding accelerate, and you just immediately win. That's amazing. Also, there's a fly on my light. Please go. I know that it doesn't really cast a shadow, because that's not how soft lights work, but still, it annoys me that there's a fly here. I woke up... okay, so I woke up this morning. There was a spider which had made an entire web during the night, which spiders apparently do tend to work faster during nighttime hours, which makes sense, because everything that would kill a spider probably would be asleep during the night, so it's safe for them to come out, right? So they made a... the spider made a web, and I was like, I'm not gonna murder you. I'm just going to pick one of the the anchor points of your web, because it was at my my bedside nightstand table thingy I have, and I'm going to stick it to the window, because I actually quite like the idea of having a spider in my room. It was a very small spider, but like, if there's a spider in my room, there's going to be less flies. And during the summertime, there's... I didn't pay attention to what was going on. Where am I supposed to go? I'm just going to go ahead and say I was supposed to go this direction, because that just makes the most sense from a game design perspective. Yeah, so Hagrid's side quest definitely is in this game, where you have to... oh yeah, because you need firestones for Norbert to hatch. That makes sense. So I guess we'll be doing that today, and then next time we'll probably be doing some Quidditch, maybe? I don't know. I honestly don't know. We are only about 5 minutes into this episode, I think. Maybe 10, I don't know. I think the last episode was about 25 minutes, as I said before. So usually when I finish recording an episode, then I record multiple episodes back to back, which for a lot of series I do 2 or 3 episodes at a time. I set a marker in my audio to make sure that I know where episodes end, so that I can look at the recording and know how long the current episode is, to make decisions based on, are we going to do a certain thing this episode or next episode. Thing is, with a game this old, I can't click off of the game to select my recording software and set a little marker. So I just kind of have to remember how long the episodes are by memory. And I'm not used to that. So I'm not saying my memory is really bad. I'm just saying I'm not used to doing that. So, and it requires, okay, talking during the game and keeping the interesting commentary going, which I'm not saying my commentary is always interesting, but I goddamn try. Requires quite a bit of brain power. More than you would expect, probably. Also, there's not a light back there, I just noticed. That's the same light I have right there. I just need one for this, but for things like everything wrong with Pokemon, which I should really get to writing and filming the second one of those, because I do enjoy the fact that this log is the same one we walked through and we're now walking on top of it. I think that is clever design. Makes it feel a little bit more like a world you're walking through compared to just a corridor. Even though it still is just a corridor, which has like a point where it crosses itself. It's still just a corridor at the end of the day. That's what these games... Honestly, that's what these games oftentimes are. They are... There's like... I don't know how to say it, because the castle itself, right? Hogwarts... It's very much not like a corridor. It's actually one of the earliest open world exploration based games I can point out. Other than maybe Mario 64, which was literally the first open world game in 3D anyway. The very first open world game I'd argue is probably Metroid? Not even Super Metroid, just Metroid for the NES. I don't know what its actual name is. I think it's just Metroid. To a certain extent. But yeah, Hogwarts itself is very open and you can just go everywhere and there's a lot of secrets, but the moment you get into any story-related stuff, it's just a corridor. And that's such a stark contrast against the world connecting those corridors. It's like you have one hub with a lot of corridors going out from that hub, right? And that's not just this game, that also happens in the next game, and the game after that. And then in the fourth game, at least for PC, you don't even have a hub world, you just have a level select screen, which a lot of people seem to dislike Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire for PC anyway. I think Goblet of Fire was the game where they started making the games the same. Is this where I came from? I don't think this is where I came from, is it? I think this is where I'm supposed to be going towards. I think that's Goblet of Fire is where the game started being the same on all the platforms. So people seem to dislike that game, and while I agree it's probably not the best game, I don't know where I place it in my top 5 list, because again, that video is like 3 years old at this point. I think it's a pretty fun game. It's very, like, janky, and it doesn't work half the time, and, like, casting spells with Ron and Hermione sometimes they just decide not to cast a spell with you, but the game requires you to have 2 or more casters for the spell, and you're just kind of fucked. But it's not like this game, which is held in very high regard by a lot of people. It's, like, technically sound in any way, shape, or form. This game is also very janky, technically speaking. It's just people have a higher opinion of this because they were younger when they played it and they have better memories and nostalgic memories of it. But I think a lot of the people that hate Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, if they were to play both games today, they would agree with me that probably, depending on what you want to get out of the game, okay? If you are looking for a open world exploration based game, this game does do a better job of that. It doesn't do a fantastic job of it, because it's still, as I said, mostly just a bunch of corridors connected by a somewhat open-ish world, but mostly it's just a bunch of corridors. The third game does really, really well in that regard, and honestly, the fifth game does really well. Order of Phoenix, it does really, really well in making that open world exploration game. It really feels like Hogwarts again after the fourth game, which was, again, not very well loved. Can I just jump down there? I think I might be able to. Let's try. Where does that take me? Probably to a secret place, I assume? Yeah. That, I'm gonna guess, is Rowena Ravenclaw then. But the 5th game is shit. It's really bad. It's just side quests. Like, about a third of the game is doing side quests for DA members to make them join the DA. That is about a third of the entire game for Order of the Phoenix. It fucking sucks. Like, a lot. But it does exploration very well, so if exploration in Hogwarts is your metric for how good the games are, Order of the Phoenix probably ranks very high, but I think it's pretty shallow to say that is the only important thing about the game design. So, as such, I don't know what my original point was, but as such, I think Goblet of Fire isn't that bad. Is it great? No. No, it's not. Is it the worst? No. No, it's not. Because I honestly think from a just like making it fun and can I be honest, the movie for Order of the Phoenix also not very good. Order of the Phoenix is probably the worst movie out of all of the 8 movies that exist. I also don't know how Flipendo need to let them cool down before I pick them up, otherwise they damage me. I remember. I think. Man, I'm good. I don't know how many fire seeds we need. I think there's 3 plants in total we need to go through. Maybe 4. And then next time we'll be doing a Norbert thing. We're about 10 minutes in. We'll probably be able to go through this decently quickly, I want to say. Not very quickly necessarily, but quicker than last episode. Because last episode we actually did quite a lot. And this episode we're going to do significantly less. Because we're only going to do these fire seeds. Which I'm pretty much just playing autopilot. Just to show you, by the way, it does damage you and you don't even pick up the fire seed if you don't let them, the ambers burn out. Which is a fun little thing that the, like, it makes sense, right? They literally come from flaming trees. So the fact that they are very hot when you get them out makes sense. I don't see what kind of added benefit it has from like a game perspective that you just have to sit around and wait for a little while. If they were also like, if they would also spawn a couple of pixies you needed to take care of, but while also trying not to step on the fire seeds, it would give you something to do. It would have a little bit of an extra challenge added to it, and that would make it a lot more interesting. Right now, it's just you cast Flipendo, and you just have to kind of stand around and wait until you can pick them up. And generally speaking, I'm of the opinion that like dead air like that, just like downtime in your game like that, where nothing at all is happening other than the player has to wait in order to do the next task, generally, it's not a good thing. You want to have something to do for the player pretty much at all times. Obviously, you can have differences in how intense those tasks are, but like modern games, okay, modern games don't really have loading screens anymore. I am so glad, by the way, that we pretty much got rid of loading screens in its entirety in the modern day. You have no idea how happy that makes me. But some games still do, and some not as modern games, but like games from a couple of years ago, they have a little bit more in the way of loading screens. And I'm going to give you a very basic and stupid example. And I don't know how more recent games in this series I'm about to mention deal with this, and if they even have loading screens. But Assassin's Creed always had loading screens. But sometimes you would always be able to walk in those loading screens. And while that's not necessarily something to do, it's better than just waiting around. Which is a really good side. You'll notice, by the way, that just instinctually, while waiting for these fire seeds to cool down, I am walking around because it is just, you need something to do. You're playing this game to do something, not just sit back and watch. But Assassin's Creed also gave you some, like, internal monologue and to listen to and story bits during those loading screens, making them a little bit more interesting while the game loaded for you. Those kind of things I think are very, very important, and I think this game kind of, in this very specific case, kind of drops the ball on that, not gonna lie. I think they should be a little bit more interesting surrounding the fire seeds. There's a lot more fire seeds, by the way, than I initially thought there were, because I think we're at 15 already. Are we at 18 already? I don't know. I'm also aware that if there's this many fire seed trees, having pixies spawn out of every single one of them, aside from not making a lot of sense, they could also spawn fire crabs, by the way, because we just had fire crabs introduced, and those slugs, which also seem like they have some kind of fire element thing going for them. Could have been something like that, just anything. But I am aware that if there's that many, I didn't even look at how many seeds we have at this point. If there's that many of these guys, of these trees I should say, it's probably going to get repetitive if you have to beat the same enemies every single time, and I'll be complaining about that. But honestly, picking between not having to do anything and having to do something repetitive, in this case, I probably take the repetitive thing, because waiting around for all of these tree seeds to cool down is repetitive in and of itself, in like a macro sense. So that is my complaint about the game for today. Again, this is I like the kind of games where I can do commentary which is a little bit more analytical, because in Pokemon I just end up talking more about the things like the spider web I talked about a little bit ago. I talk about that kind of thing, just like live stories and just story time, really, in the Pokemon series. And then in Kingdom Hearts, it's a lot more like gameplay focused and about Kingdom Hearts itself. And then here, in Harry Potter and those kind of games, I can talk a little bit more analytically about what I think makes a game work, and what I like about a game, and what I don't like about a game, and why this episode is about to come to an end. I think after a cutscene, though, because we need to go through a cutscene first. And I am assuming that is Slytherin. Okay, we don't automatically get pulled into a new cutscene. That is interesting. Also good, but interesting. Oh, we also have the Forbidden Forest. Okay, so maybe this game is actually a little bit longer than I gave it credit for. So as you can see, Slytherin will always be a little bit ahead of you, because it's just like, it takes this and applies like a 1.04 multiplier to it or something like that. So this is Gryffindor. I am assuming that these are the other founders and that these are not... Yeah, that is Morgan Le Fay, and this is... So that is Salazar Slytherin. Why aren't all the 4 founders on the same page? That is supremely stupid. Anyway, I'll see you back next episode when we are, I think, maybe going to do the Norbert side story. Would make sense to do Norbert, then the Forbidden Forest, then Lumos, then Voldemort. No, surely not, because we also do need to do the library somewhere in there. Don't we do the library? In this, I'm fairly sure that we do. Is that the second game? No, because that's also how Harry runs into the Mirror of Erised. So, where do we do the library? Is it after the forest? Must be after the forest. So Norbert Forest, Lumos Library, Voldemort? Something like that? We'll see next time, or the time after that. Until then, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. If you have enjoyed this video and stuff like that, here on the end screen, click on one of the links on the end screen. You'll be fine.